How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about the best places in the Philippines to start a business. Let's go. So the Philippines is a very diverse country. There's lots of small islands, there's big cities, there's small province towns, and everything else in between. So if you're considering starting a business in the Philippines, there's a lot of different things to take in mind. As they say with business, location, location, location. And that is definitely true when it comes to thinking through where to start a business. Now, the type of business that you start is actually going to impact this as well. So if you're going to start a business, for example, like mine over here, we're a business process outsourcing company where we need to find a lot of talented employees that are very good at jobs like website development, copywriting, graphic design, video editing. Then you need to make sure that you're in a bigger city, definitely somewhere like Metro Manila, Davao City, or SIU City, somewhere where you're likely to have a big talent pool of educated people that have years of experience. On the other hand, if you're going to start, say, a kiosk restaurant, a small restaurant, then you're going to have a lot more options about where you actually wind up. So I want to look at first big city versus province, and then look at some of the bigger cities for your consideration. Now, the first thing I want to look at is big city versus province. Now, I already mentioned, if you're going to start a business where you need a larger employee pool, you just want to think about a bigger business. Also, if a lot of foot traffic is important to you, you're also really going to want to consider a larger city. However, if it's kind of a mid-sized place, I actually think that there's great options there because in my experience, a lot of the kind of small to medium-sized province areas don't have a lot of options for certain types of businesses that are really good. So say, for example, if you're in a larger city like SIU City and you open up another restaurant, nobody cares. Well, they care for a month and then they forget about you until the next new place opens up. So there's just so much competition in a big city for something like a restaurant because there are just so many already there. Or if you're the next gas station or the next XYZ. So we're already a lot of those in bigger cities. And so thinking about kind of a small to medium-sized province town might actually mean that you have far less competition and that everybody goes to if you do something with excellence in a smaller place, because not that many people typically are doing stuff with excellence in my experience in some of the smaller towns. If you know of some exceptions of businesses that are doing an amazing job in small to medium-sized province towns here, give them a shout out in the comments below. So when it comes down to it, I am a bit more biased towards the larger cities for starting a business, just because you're going to have more access to employees, customers, if it's a local business. And even if it's not a local business, if you're doing business with people overseas, they're going to just take more note if you say that you are in one of the bigger cities. So to wrap it up, I'm biased towards big cities. I definitely would consider them. However, if you have something you think you could do with excellence in a smaller area, you just might cut out the competition. However, you have to do even more work with supply chain and resources and everything that you'll need to keep that business going. Even in large cities here, it's really difficult to get some stuff. If you're in Manila, it's definitely the easiest. The logistics in the Philippines for other parts of the country can be challenging, especially with businesses that need, for example, food items, different things like that. However, for most businesses, any of the big cities are going to work well. So first city that most people think of when they think of the Philippines is Manila. So Metro Manila is actually a large, sprawling area that's comprised of a number of big cities. And so people might wind up in Quezon City or Makati or BGC or Pasay. There's a lot of different places and they all have some different appeals. So not everywhere in Manila is necessarily right for your business. So if you think about Manila, don't think of Manila like San Francisco or Sydney. Those cities are also big with a lot of people and a lot of different areas as well. But you really need to think of Metro Manila more like Los Angeles if you're familiar with it, where you're just going from one big city to the next big city. And there's just a lot of people there. The great thing about Manila is that the supply chain for most of the Philippines all goes there. And then so much just goes out from there. And so I find that there's a lot of, for example, restaurant chains that used to be in Cebu City, and they just stopped in Cebu City and just kept their Manila location because it was just so much easier to get stuff there. Sometimes I wonder why even restaurants like Subway, they're in Manila. You think if Subway spends all the time to get a Philippines franchise, they'd also want to be in other parts of the country. However, my guess is they don't do it for logistics reasons. It's just too much of a pain in the neck to get fresh food supplies on a daily basis to different parts of the Philippines. So Manila really does have a lot going for it, depending on the type of business. Now, when it comes to something like cost, people think that Manila is much more expensive than other parts of the Philippines. But in my experience, I could find cheaper condos to live in and about the same cost for office space as I do in Cebu City for something that's comparable. The difference with Manila is there's also stuff that is just exorbitantly expensive. And you don't find that as much in other parts of the Philippines. However, from day-to-day life, I didn't find, looking at prices, that Manila, and I'm talking about places like Makati, BGC is a little bit more expensive, but most places in Manila that you would want to have a business aren't that much different than Cebu City. However, they're definitely a lot more expensive than Davao City. So I'm going to talk about more of those cities in the future. Now, the other great thing about Manila is that there's just so many employees there because there's just so many people there. And so you have access to a lot of smart, gifted people, and employees are just a huge factor to making a business work. If you don't have access to great talent, your business is just going to struggle. So Manila is very attractive from that perspective. However, it also attracts a lot of large international, multinational companies and just a lot of companies in general that are all fighting for the best talent. So there's so much competition in Manila as well. But all in all, I think Manila is a great choice for having a business. We just recently opened up a small private office there for one of our clients. And so now Purple Cow has a small presence in Manila. And in the near future, we'll open up a larger office for all of our clients there as well. So definitely consider Manila, but just think about where in Manila. It's a big area. Now, the city here in the Philippines that I have the most experience doing business with is Cebu City. We opened up Purple Cow's first office in Cebu City about 5 years ago, and it's been a great place to have a business. There's also just so many bright people there that have graduated from great universities, have a lot of good work experience, and that are able to really help serve your business. However, like Manila, there's a lot of competition for those employees from big companies. Amazon, Google, Meta, Facebook, all these big companies are there hiring up a lot of employees, and there's a ton of business process outsourced companies there that have thousands and thousands of employees. And so the competition in Cebu City is also pretty fierce, just like Manila. In Manila, you have more competition, but you also have more people. In Cebu City, you still have so much competition for the people that are there. However, Cebu City is just a great place to live. People will say that the traffic isn't as bad there as Manila. I don't know about that. Just go drive in Cebu City sometime and you'll find that it's also pretty terrible there. But overall, people just find that there's a really great work-life balance in Cebu City. And so when you're thinking about where to start a business, you also want to enjoy where you live. And I find that a lot of people really love Cebu City as a destination to live. It has beaches, it has mountains, it has a wide variety of whatever you would like to do there, great nightlife. The prices for office space in Cebu are similar to Manila. The wages are a little bit lower, but not really for, certain types of jobs. So depending on the type of jobs, for example, the kind of jobs that we hire for that I mentioned earlier, it's going to be about the same whether I'm hiring people in Manila or Cebu City. Now, the third city that I want to talk about is Davao. I recently started living in Davao. I keep wanting to pronounce it Davao, but people here keep telling me it's Davao. So I got to get my pronunciation correct over here. But I kind of stumbled across Davao City by accident while recruiting for employees for a British client. And I just really love the city as a place to do business and as a place to live as well. So I've been in the SIU City office and have lived there for years, but now I spend about 75–80% of my time here in Davao City and the other time in Cebu or Manila, working out of the offices there. And so I find that Davao City is really interesting, where the population is similar to that of Cebu City. It's the second or third biggest city in the Philippines, depending on, the geography and how you count the population. It's definitely more spread out than Cebu City. The nice thing about Cebu City as well is you have Cebu Business Park and you have Cebu IT Park. Those are really the two business hubs. You could walk in about 15–20 minutes between one and the other. So it's just really convenient in terms of running a business there, location-wise. In Davao City, you really have to think harder about where do you want to locate, because it's just a much bigger city geographically. We wound up in a place in Davao City called Bahada, just pretty central, and we really found that for employees commuting, they're either near here, or at least they're not going from one far end of the city to another end of the city. And so we've been really happy with Davao City so far. We have 2 offices here. One is dedicated for a client and his employees, and the other is more like our Cebu City office, where we have teams of digital marketers, software developers, dedicated employees that are serving clients in general. What I love about Davao for business is that the rent is about half the cost of Manila or Cebu, might even be a little bit less than half the cost. So it's a big difference in regards to office space. Also, there's a lot of really smart, talented people here as well, same as Manila and Cebu City. However, I find that, and let's keep this our secret, there's not nearly as much competition for employees. I shouldn't be talking about this out loud because I don't want to make more competition for employees in Davao City, but so far it's just really proving to be a great place to do business. So as mentioned before, when considering a place, really depends on the type of business that you have, how much competition you want, what types of employees you want, what you're looking at in terms of overhead. It also depends about how much you want to make. You might want to be living in a smaller area and you don't need to make as much as a result of it. So you're happy to start a small business in a smaller area, knowing your profits won't be as much, but it just kind of, the economics all works out for you because you also don't need to spend as much living in a smaller area. Anyhow, guys, I hope that this discussion has been helpful for you. If you need any help starting a business over here in the Philippines, never hesitate to reach out. If you're living in another country and you need to outsource work to the Philippines, I hope I could be your guy. As always, guys, thanks for taking the time to listen, and take care.